see if we can get this thing rocking and rolling. Bear with me, everybody, while I get this set up here. Got the impromptu Big Bass Stream studio here in the boatyard. Give everybody a minute to log in and get caught up. What's up, Nick? This video is long overdue. I did a Swimbait rod and reel tackle breakdown on all the setups I was using back in 2020. Seems to still be a pretty popular video, so it's time that we revisit it. Hey, what's up, Sam and Sam? Larry, what's good? Alright, let's see here. I can see your chats. I'm going to do my best to answer some questions as we go here, but to be honest, I just wanted to do this live so that I don't have to do any editing later. Let's see. But we've got quite a bit of addition to the big bait lineup, both rods, reels, as well as all the tackle. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this past season of me being rogue and operating as what I refer to as a free agent. Allows me to be completely transparent with you guys, and I get to fish with a lot more toys. So I'm going to share with you guys my findings over the past 2 years since I last did that last Swimbait rod and reel tackle breakdown for you guys. A lot of it is still in play. Obviously, it was very Megabass heavy, as I was exclusively a Megabass ambassador back then. The iSlide 262 is still in the repertoire, as is the Levante Leviathan here. But a couple of updates. We've brought on 13 Fishing as a partner, as well as Douglas Rods, as well as Gan Craft, as well as Baitsanity, as well as BKK. My goodness, it's been very mind-blowing and humbling that so many brands see the value in what we're trying to do here, and ultimately that's helping you guys chase your big bass streams. So let's start with this bad boy right here. We got a lot to cover. You guys might not be able to see all these setups that I have here, but I've spent all day tying them on and making sure I got a proper representation that shows you guys what I'm fishing across the board, from the little stuff like this little sneak peek at a bait, 6-inch range, even little weedless shad swim baits like this Bamp shad, all the way up to this iSlide 262, the Gan Craft 303, etc, etc. So Levante Leviathan, $250 rod. It is a perfect rod for throwing the iSlide 262 or any of your hard baits, whether they're glides, crankdowns, topwaters, in that 3 to 6 ounce range. And being 7'11", it's a little long for working a topwater bait like the Mega Dogs, but very doable, especially when you're fishing it with a braid to fluorocarbon leader. And you guys can utilize that reel to work those topwater walking baits more so than you have to actually work the rod. But we've got a couple other options here with shorter handles to show you guys. So 13 Fishing Concept A3s are going to be dominant in this breakdown here. In 2020 we were fishing the Die with the Tula 300, still a fantastic swim bait, big bait reel, but I want to say the max drag is somewhere around 25 pounds. The biggest reason I have pretty much swapped all of the big bait reels to these Concept A3s is 3 parts. It comes in multiple gear ratios, 5.5 to 1, 6.3 to 1, and an 8.1 to 1. So I've got multiple speed options to dial in specific presentations I want to make. Secondly, and probably the most important, is the 45 pounds of drag that I get out of this beast of a reel. Like, that's crazy. 45 pounds, guys. Like, I can literally lock down my drag and slap these fish straight to the boat or straight to the net. You guys that are familiar with my content and the content here on the Big Bass Streams channel know how I love to control these fish from the moment I hook into them and to the moment I'm hopefully holding them in my hands. So that capability to really lock down that drag is crucial to me. And in years past, you had to go to a big, heavy round reel, usually aluminum, something like a Shimano Conquest, which is still a fantastic reel, but man, at $600 a pop versus $250 or $260 for a Concept A3, it's a no-brainer, especially when you have this many combos dedicated to big bait fishing. All right, so all you Megabass fans, don't be upset. I'm still a Megabass partner. I'm still utilizing some of my all-time favorite lures. Obviously, this iSlide 262 holds a big spot in my heart. I've had a lot of success with it over the years. Still feel it's an underrated big bait, underrated glide bait. I think it's time I should probably do a tackle breakdown video specifically on the 262, because it seems like people are still struggling to wrap their heads around how to utilize this fantastic bait. I've caught fish coast to coast on it. It's proven itself time and time again. Obviously, I've won 100 grand fishing one of those big fish tournaments on that bait. So really pivotal part of my arsenal. Let's move from the small stuff up. Those of you guys that are new to big bait fishing or my YouTube channel or this YouTube channel are probably looking for some information on how to get started with swim baits. And one of my go-to focus points when that discussion comes up is to start smaller. Start with a smaller bait like this 13 Fishing Coalition Bamf Shad, this prototype Defiant 165, 6.5 inch, this prototype Cast Prodigy 6 inch, and focus on your presentation with the smaller lures. Get as many engagements with these smaller baits as you can, bites, follows. That way you get more opportunities to experiment with your mechanics and your system overall. I'm going to do my best to share with you guys my system and why it works for me. Hopefully you guys can draw some insight from that and develop your own system from it. Never take anything you see online as the truth. Utilize it as a foundation to go out there and do your own scientific experiments with. Okay, so we're going to start with some stuff on the smaller end. Let's see here. I've got another. Oh, here's a perfect rod here. Okay, this is a 7'6" Douglas X Matrix series rod, and there are times when I really like a 7'6" rod. Most of it's going to be around shallow cover where I'm making short, precise casts. And here's another sneak peek at a new prototype bait that we're testing. This is a Defiant 165 rigged weedless with the BKK Titan Diver Plus modular swim bait hook. We'll talk more about that system shortly here. But that 7'6" length really allows me to place this bait in small pockets, whether I'm fishing overhanging brush, laydowns, trying to skip these baits up underneath docks, or anywhere accuracy is important, and also out of the kayak. I've really started fishing shorter and shorter rods, fishing out of the Old Town autopilot, because I just don't need that distance most of the time, and having that shorter rod makes it easier to handle these fish boat side. So this is a Douglas X Matrix Series DXC 766 Extra Fast. So at 7'6", it's a 6 power, rated for 20 to 30 pound lines. So those of you guys that love fishing a weedless swim bait on braid to fluorocarbon leader here, are gonna love that rod. It's rated for 3/4 to 4 ounce baits. It's got a lot of power, a lot of backbone. You can really hammer down when a fish eats this weedless bait to ensure you got proper hook penetration. Look at that beautiful hook point there on that BKK Titan Diver Plus hook. Really, really awesome way to deliver these baits in places that you would probably normally throw a chatterbait, a spinnerbait, a square bill, etc., etc. But obviously there's big bait applications. I do like a little bit faster gear ratio for those types of presentations. I'm typically moving along the bank quickly. I'm hitting multiple targets, hitting as many docks as I can, trying to hit every angle that I can. So an 8 to 1 might be a little fast for that, but it's doable. But I do like a 6.3 to 1 on this Concept A3. I've got 80-pound Defiant braid like this here. Also available in these bulk spools for you guys that have a lot of setups to fill. And it's got a short fluorocarbon leader. This is a Defiant shock leader, 35-pound, about 18 to 20 inches here, tied straight to that bait. All right, excited for you guys to get your hands on some of the smaller Defiant stuff coming down the line. Let's see, let's go to some a little bit lighter still. Okay, so here's another Defiant prototype. This one's got a boot tail. We've already been catching some fish on this bad boy. 165 brings it in at 6.5 inches in length. Okay, we've got it on that same BKK Titan Diver Plus modular hook. And this time I've got this rigged on a Douglas X Matrix DXC 7115F. So that's 7'11", 5 power, fast taper, 15 to 25 pound line, 38 to 2 ounce range. So literally perfect for making longer bomb casts across flats, fishing big weed edges. Anytime you want more distance, I'm probably going to reach for that 7-foot or 8-foot rod more often than not. Also 6.3 to 1 gear ratio on that 13 fishing Concept A3. And what you'll notice different here between this and that last setup is the line. Same size line, pretty much the same hook, similar bait style, but this is 100% fluorocarbon line. This is Defiant heavy cover fluorocarbon, and I've got 23.6 pound spooled on this reel. This is a really nice in-between size designed specifically for slow rolling these big soft swim baits. And if you guys fish anywhere like Clear Lake, like my man Larry does, anywhere near like Rattlesnake Island and all those crazy sharp volcanic rocks, you're gonna learn to appreciate this line. You can bottom bounce pretty much all day, multiple days even, and probably get away with not having to retie. That fluorocarbon line also helps keep that bait down, so I'm maintaining contact with the bottom, getting all those little micro deflections as that bait is bouncing along, kicking off rocks, and taking up a lot of abuse. So there are a lot of questions across all my social media platforms where what's the best line for fishing a big bait? And is it braid? Is it fluorocarbon? He said, is it fluorocarbon braid leader? Like, yes, all of that is applicable. It just really depends on how you're presenting your specific lure. All right, so just FYI, if you guys are looking to purchase any of these products, I've got pretty much all of them listed in the description below already. It's going to take you directly to our partner stores. We're working with some of the biggest stores in the country. We're also working with some of the smallest and up-and-coming boutique style shops as well. So no matter where you guys do your shopping, do us a favor. If you guys value this content, make those purchases directly through those links. And if you're one of those guys that likes to weigh your options and do your shopping later, just click the links and then bookmark them and save them to your homepage. That way the partner stores know you guys are coming from the content we're creating for you guys, and that just helps us do more of this and give you guys some more insight. All right, and what do we got here? So I've got pretty much the exact same setup as the last setup that I showed you guys, except this one's got a Prodigy 6-inch prototype swim bait. Those of you guys that have seen some of the tackle breakdown videos might have seen us whacking big smallies on the 3-inch version. We've had a lot of success on the 4-inch version as a standalone bait rig just like this, using it as a swim jig trailer, a spinnerbait trailer, a chatterbait trailer. So I'm really excited to start fishing this 6-inch version. There's also a sick 8-inch version coming. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be showing you guys all these new baits and prototypes, but whatever. This is what I'm here for, right? So take a look at that big profile difference. All right. I've got this similar setup, rigged on another 711 5F or 71 15F, whatever you want to call it, except I've got it on a little bit faster gear ratio. It's an 8.1 to 1 Concept A3, and I'm anticipating fishing this bait a little bit faster. So when I show up to a new lake and I'm looking to cover water, I'm trying to figure out where these fish are situated and what kinds of offshore structure or shallow cover I need to be targeting. I'm going to fish a little bit faster. So that 8 to 1 gear ratio is a fantastic tool for that. Oh yeah, while I'm at it, one of the things that I love about this system is I got a couple of hook keeper options. The Douglas rods all feature that looped hook keeper there on the blank. It's been really good for us this year. Some of the on the blank hook keepers will grab your line when you're casting or winding or cause some other kind of weird fouling problems. Have not had that with this simple wire loop that Douglas utilizes. So shout out to Fred Contois and the Douglas team for implementing that. And something that I wish all the reel manufacturers would do is implement this nifty little feature. Every one of these concept reels has a dedicated hook keeper or hook slot right on top in the middle of that reel frame, and honestly that's kind of what I like to utilize more often than not. It allows me to stack more rods up here on the front deck, minimize my cluster, but it's really handy, guys. I mean, here it is again on a treble hook bait like the eye slide. You're not causing any damage to the frame of your reel. It's literally got a dedicated hook slot there. All right, let's keep it moving. This is kind of a one-off rod that I discovered earlier this year. Those of you guys that have seen the tackle breakdown on the 13 Fishing Coalition, the Gill, saw me busting their ass with this NV Black rod from 13. I was having a hard time finding it online, so unfortunately I think it might be discontinued, but do your due diligence and see if you can hunt one of these things down, because if you like throwing this size bait, pretty much all these weedless 4 to 6 inch baits that we've discussed, this has been a pretty awesome rod for this application. So this is an NV Black from 13. This is the EB2C 8XH, 8 foot, extra heavy power, really fast. So when we were throwing this thing down in the grass mats of Florida and hooking those fish in and around all that grass, having this super fast rod, the Defiant 80-pound braid, short Defiant shock leader, that BKK Titan diver hook, and that A3 with a 8 to 1 gear ratio really let us put the wood to them. That's a fun video. If you guys haven't seen it yet, I'll probably update all the links in the description to include the tackle breakdowns on all of these baits that we're talking about today. And hopefully you guys find value in that context. I'm only talking about things that I've done, things that I've experienced, things I've had success with. There's a lot of stuff out there where guys are just yapping away, and I mean, I can tell, because this is what I do, man. We ain't faking no funk here. It's all backed by public water like pressured fisheries and results. So we have a lot of fun doing it. Hopefully you guys have a lot of fun watching. Lots more stuff coming, but that's a pretty awesome setup there. Another way for you guys to store your baits, especially like these weedless ones, where you don't want to like distort or warp your baits by like utilizing either one of the hook keeper systems, is to actually just use the reel itself and wedge your bait between the cast control knob and the handle. Learned that from some Japanese guys from the Megabass team several years back, because as you guys know, a lot of the Megabass rods don't have hook keepers, so I thought that was nifty. Wedge that thing in there, spin your line around a couple times, and it does a really good job at holding your bait without warping it. Alright, let's get to some medium-sized hard bait options. Big shout out to everybody that supported Big Bass Dreams by copying one of our collaboration baits. This is BBD01 Ghost Baitfish in the Ripple Claw 178. Man, we might as well talk about that bait too. It's our first color collaboration from Gan Craft. It's another high-end Japanese rod lure brand coming out of Japan. They also do some collaborative high-end reels with Daiwa that we fish. We'll probably save that for a whole nother tackle breakdown video. But there's a lot more coming. We're already working on a second color scheme for you guys. I wanted to create this ghost baitfish pattern for the predominantly clear water conditions that I'm facing to start the early fall and finish up the late summer. But as storms start rolling in throughout the country and bringing mud and debris and that visibility down, we're gonna have a dirtier water focused color scheme for you guys next. But this thing's been kicking ass on some of the home lakes, Pudding Stone, Casitas, Clear Lake, as well as across the country. Some of our guys are doing work on it at Candlewood and other high pressure fisheries. It's designed to imitate just about anything and everything that swims. As far as a general bait fish pattern, especially with that translucent color, I'm gonna have to do a tackle breakdown video on the Ripple Claw itself. That's a very underrated, unknown bait, even amongst big bait enthusiasts, but it's probably in the 2 to 3 ounce class. And I've got it attached to a BKK egg snap here. And those of you guys that are leery of snaps, here's a couple of points I want to make. There's only really 2 snaps that I trust, and one is this BKK. Let's see, what is it? I don't want to butcher it. This is the BKK Duo Lock Snap. All right, and it comes to strengths like 90 pound or even 121 or 131 pound ratings. We've got links in the description to those below. These things are a pain in the ass to open and close. I have not had any of these open up yet. So make sure you guys are fishing the appropriately rated snaps first and foremost, and expect to be able to swap it, I don't know, 20 or 30 times. Open it and close it 20 or 30 times before you should just cut it off and toss it. They're cheap enough. You don't want to risk that wire fatigue affecting the strength of that snap and compromising it and having catastrophic breakdowns. One of the things that I see a lot of guys doing is fishing an undersized and underrated snap and fishing it for too long. So as long as you aren't doing those 2 things, you guys should be good to go. All right. To that snap, I've got a short fluorocarbon leader. I think this is 28.9 pound Defiant shock leader. Actually, no. This is actually tied straight to Defiant soft casting fluorocarbon. Also 23.6 pound. I find like that's a really nice line to be fishing these 6 to 7.5 inch class baits on. 25 seems to be a little bit heavy. 20 pounds seems a little light to me. I still am anticipating hopefully a really big fish eating these mid-size hard baits. So that's something to keep in mind. That 23.6 has been excellent. The difference between the soft casting and the heavy cover stuff, for the most part, if I'm bottom bouncing a soft bait, I'm fishing the heavy cover. If I'm throwing a hard bait higher in the column, where I'm not really anticipating my line hitting a lot of objects like dock pilings or barnacle covered dock pilings or zebra mussel infested, etc., etc., I'm fishing that bait in more open water. That soft casting fluorocarbon is a little bit easier to handle. So those of you guys that don't like as much memory in your line, go to the soft casting. If you guys grew up like me fishing something like Maxima Ultra Green with a ridiculous amount of memory, you're probably gonna like the heavy cover. But I knew that stuff wouldn't break on me, and I know that heavy cover isn't gonna break on me. I've had a lot of success over the past 3-4 years fishing these lines. So I've got that spooled once again on a 13 Concept A3. I've got this on a 6.3 to 1 gear ratio. Allows me to slow down and wake this bait up on the surface with the rod tip high, if I'm trying to present it up high like that. Also at 6.3 to 1, I can crank this thing at a slow roll to a medium to fast clip to fish it as a crank down. This has been a very effective bait for Riley and I, especially these last few weeks. We've been fishing it just like a big square bill for the most part. Stop and go retrieve, pull and pause, even somewhat burning it and letting it kind of blow out of rhythm and creating just reaction bites. It's been a really easy bait to fish, really fun bait to fish. We're sold out on all of these models on bigbassstreams.com, but I do know some of our partner stores still may have some in stock, whether it's the Ripple Claw, whether it's the Jointed Claw 230 or 303 or 178 or the Rest jerk baits. Modern Outdoor Tackle has them. Berkshire Bass has them. Bounty Hunters Custom Baits has them. Lakeport Bait and Tackle has them in store as well. So go support all of our dealers because they got the only ones left. So hopefully you guys are having as much success on these baits as we are. It's been a ton of fun. Oh, didn't even talk about the rod. Slacking here, sorry guys. So this is a Douglas LRS series rod, and you guys notice the two biggest differences obviously between the LRS and the X Matrix is the color of the blank. The X Matrix series rods are gray, silver, black. They are comprised of a higher modulus graphite. They tend to have faster tapers in the same blank models. So generally I'm fishing single hook baits on an X Matrix, and I'm fishing a treble hook bait on the LRS. The LRS series tends to have a deeper bend. So just like when we're fishing a jerk bait like this Rest series here, like how organized I am there, with treble hooks, or a topwater bait with treble hooks, or a crankbait with treble hooks, I'm fishing a much softer rod that bends a lot deeper into the blank to mitigate pulled hooks and lost fish. It's the same concept as you scale up to these big baits with trebles. It's proven itself to be more efficient. I feel like I hook fish deeper with the deeper bending rods. One of the key points in my mechanics over the years is the adjustment to not swing on hard bait bites. Watch the countless videos and see that I'm utilizing the reel or just like a smoother sweep set with the rod and reel to get penetration on these super sharp hooks, hard baits, low stretch fluorocarbon, almost no stretch braid to fluorocarbon leader combos. They hook themselves, guys. Do yourself a favor and stop swinging on them. You'll see that you'll get more fish with both trebles in their mouth, and with that softer rod eating up more of those big head shakes and those jumps and such, you're gonna have less fish jump off. So that's a fantastic setup here. This is a LRS C7115F. So this is the LRS counterpart to that X Matrix rod that I showed you guys with the 6.5-inch weedless bait. Okay, but it's gonna bend a little bit deeper. So if you're fishing a ripple claw, if you're fishing any of these mid-size hard baits like this Baitsanity Antidote, we've got an awesome tackle breakdown on that bait in the system that we use to fish this thing as well. If you're fishing a slept-on bait like this Gan Craft Kaiten 178, you guys are like, if you guys are spy bait fans and big bait fans, check that out. We got a link in the description below on this very unique slow sinking spy bait. Excited to do work, especially as the water temps start to dip. All you guys that are Explorer Gill glide fans are probably gonna like that rod as well. Fishes that range really good. Mega Dog obviously is a big hard bait with treble hooks. This fishes well on the Levante Leviathan, but it also fishes really well on that 7115F LRS. All right, and while we're talking about some of that mid-range hard bait stuff, I've got here a Ratchet 184. This is a newer style double jointed hard bait from Gan Craft. Reminds me a lot of a triple trout, for example, but it still has a really nice kick out, almost like a glide bait. I fished this thing pretty fast and erratically so far. I need to put in some more time with this bait, but one of the applications that I can see with that bait specifically is making long bomb casts across big flats, covering water. And what excites me the most about this Douglas lineup of rods is how many freaking options there are. Like, it's crazy how many rod models that they have, to where I can really tailor suit so many different presentations. And this is a DXC 835M, okay, 8 foot 3 inches. That doesn't seem like much, but 8 foot 3 is really allowing me to send this bait across those big flats at Clear Lake, make really long casts across grass flats in Florida, or anywhere else where I see a benefit of a really long cast to get that bait away from the boat, as well as cover a crap ton of water. It's a little bit deeper bend than the other X Matrix series rods, so it's more of a moderate action instead of a fast. So it's still a really good option for a hard bait with treble hooks. And I've got this ratchet tied to one of those BKK duo lock snaps. This is 28.9 pound or 35 pound Defiant shock leader. I've got it spooled to 80 pound Defiant smooth casting braid. If you guys are having issues with your braid, if you guys are having issues with your braid snapping and casting baits off, it's probably because you're fishing 65 pound or less. Step up to 80 for these mid-sized baits, and step up to 100 for the big baits, and you're going to see a drastic decrease in that occurrence happening. It's hard to find good 80 and 100 pound until now, so that 80 pound smooth casting braid gives me the confidence to really rear back and deliver a really long bomb cast, oh gosh, with these baits, and cover as much water as I can. And you're not going to find that anywhere else, really. So I've got this on an 8-to-1 gear ratio, Concept A3. You will notice here on this reel and some of the other reels that I do have aftermarket handles on some of them. I've been experimenting with several of these Go Mexus power handles, and man, I've really enjoyed them so far. So stay tuned. But I haven't had any issues with these handles other than having a lot more power. It just seems to be a little bit more fun to fish. I can really move these baits, and I can really move those fish once we got them hooked up. So DXC 835M, really special and unique rod. And that's going to move us up into the next class of big bait and hard bait. And we're going to go with another Douglas LRS here. This is an C805F. This is an 8-foot, 5-power, fast action rod. It's rated for 17 to 30 pound line, 3 to 7 ounce lures. As a general rule, you guys want to be fishing the line and the lure rating that falls closer to the middle of that range. And this Gan Craft 230 Magnum jointed claw, I'm gonna guess is around 4 or 5 ounces. I'm not too sure, but it fishes beautifully on this 805. We've got this one rigged up on another BKK snap. I have been experimenting with and without snaps on certain baits because I have noticed I can get them to swim in a different fashion. So depending on how you want that lure to act, utilize a snap or don't. They all do something different. So experiment. I've got this rigged on a braid fluorocarbon leader material. Because I'm throwing this floating model of the Gan Craft over really shallow water. We just got done fishing a bunch of shallow rock flats that are really snaggy. So this bait, even though it's a floater, will still want to swim down to a degree. And the fact that the braid and short leader combo helps keep that bait from like dragging down deeper and deeper into the column really allowed me to fish this bait over some pretty sketchy, shallow stuff without fear of snagging my bait and staying in that strike zone. It's a very specific setup for a very specific situation. So anytime you guys want to fish a hard bait up high and keep it high, keep in mind the braid to short leader combo. It's same stuff here, 80-pound Defiant braid, 35-pound Defiant shock leader. I'm fishing this on a 6.3 to 1 Concept A3, but fantastic rod for fishing baits in this range. Let's see what else we got here. All kinds of stuff. Baits similar to like this new Baitsanity Antidote tug, which is going to release in the next month, I believe. You can pre-order them from Tackle Warehouse. We've got a description in the link below. Oh, I'm sorry, a link in the description below for those. I had Fahad, the owner, designer, creator, mastermind over at Baitsanity on the Dream Machine recently, and watching the man fish this bait as his mind intended it to be fished was pretty awesome. He was making really short, accurate casts in and around grass edges and little lanes and pockets, and getting it to walk the dog, boil, like pop out of the water, do a bunch of gnarly things. And I was also able to fish it subsurface, more of a standard glide action side by side. So really versatile bait, really unique bait. We'll have a more in-depth tackle breakdown video on this bad boy coming soon, but it's still in that 4 to 5 ounce range. So this is rigged on a Douglas LRS C71115F, which is that 5 power 711. Same thing, this is a floating bait, so it's once again rigged on 80-pound Defiant smooth casting braid, short fluorocarbon leader, big old power handle there, and an 8-to-1 gear ratio, because this is a much more active bait that we were fishing down the bank. Really good to have. And another similar class and genre of bait here is the Baitsanity Gen 2 Explorer Glide. You notice that paddle tail, pretty interesting, isn't it? This whole modular tail system. Oh gosh, I'm trying not to hook myself here on camera, especially since we're live. Is really nifty. It comes with some straight tails. I don't know where my box of baits is, but the different tail options makes these baits swim completely different. That secondary action of that tail kicking as it comes to a gliding stop has triggered some pretty vicious bites for us lately. This is a sinking model glide bait, so I have this rigged on another Concept A3, but rigged with 35-pound Defiant soft casting fluorocarbon. That helps me get that bait down even deeper because of the dense characteristic of that fluorocarbon, especially on a long cast. And if you like really draw out your retrieve and fish it very slowly and methodically, that bait's going to get down even further with that straight fluorocarbon line. All right, 28.9 pound would be good for this size bait as well. I've got it tied to the only other snap that I've ever trusted. That's a Decoy egg snap. It's a number 5 size, 120-pound rating. Make sure you guys are using that size. And a tip for that snap is once you start seeing that black nickel finish start wearing, or you're seeing any warping of that wire from your egg snap, just toss it. It ain't worth it. I've also put some BKK Fangs treble hooks on this bait, a little bit heavier model hook to once again add a little bit of weight and get this bait to fish down deeper than some of the other options here. If I'm fishing this thing 10 to 30 foot down, this is a really effective system to really sink that glide bait down to a zone where they usually don't see a glide. All right, we're getting close to the end here, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in here. Oh man, I need to take a little sip here. This is a good time. All right, what's next? All right, let's talk about some big softies. Defiant 210 here. I want to say this is a 3 or 4 ounce class weighted bait. This is the new Ghost Carp pattern. We were doing really well on this the last couple weeks, getting multiple bites for both clients on my personal training sessions and myself. 8 1/4 inch bait. This is going to be fish on an X Matrix series more often than not, and this is a DXC 711 16F. So 7'11", but 6 power and fast tapered. So it's rated for 17 to 30 pound line, 2 to 6 ounce baits. About the perfect rod for long casting this Defiant 210. You can go with a 7'6" version if you guys are doing some skip casts in and around shallow cover. But most of the time I'm fishing a Defiant 210 or any 8-inch soft bait in this class, like a 8-inch mag draft, like this cast 8-inch Prodigy that's going to be coming out. This is a fantastic rod for that. You can see it's spooled with straight Defiant 28.9 pound heavy cover fluorocarbon. Do a lot of bottom bouncing, especially with the stock top hook rigging here. 6.3 to 1 gear ratio if I'm fishing it down the bank, covering water. If I'm really slowing down and like camping out on a big hump or a main lake point or something, I'll go down to the 5 to 1 gear ratio as well. But that 6.3 to 1 is a great overall gear ratio that you can do a lot with. It's a fantastic rod. Really enjoy fishing the Defiant on that bad boy. And while we're talking about big soft bait rods, if you guys are looking for a more budget friendly rod to fish the soft baits, this line from 13 Fishing is totally underrated. And this is an Omen black swim bait rod. It comes in 2 models. This is the OB3C8H SB. So 8 foot heavy power. It's rated for 4 to 8 ounce baits, 20 to 40 pound line. It's a great rod for fishing both the Defiant 210 and even the bigger 247. And then it comes in an XH as well. So if you're fishing a 247 and up, that's a fantastic rod that won't break the bank. I believe they retail for around $160 or $170. We've got links in the description below for that as well. We've got that on a Lefty Concept A3. 6.3 to 1 gear ratio, and we've got 35-pound Defiant heavy cover fluorocarbon here. Anticipating bigger bites, hopefully a bigger fish. Bottom bouncing this big bad soft bait on the bottom, so having that 45 pounds of drag and the muscle of that heavy power swim bait rod, as well as the extra power from these Gomexus power handles, really allows us to control those big fish when they do make a mistake of eating that bad boy. All right, so that's a budget friendlier option for you guys. And then here we go here with another X Matrix series rod, and I want to say there's only one rod that we talked about here, and I want to say it's a 7115F in the X Matrix series, but the X Matrix series rods are on sale on Tackle Warehouse, so use the link in the description below. Take advantage of that. That is a great soft bait rod, so you're probably not going to find it cheaper anywhere else. And I've got a Defiant 247 slow sink here. I've got this one rigged with just the single treble hook. This is a bait that I'm going to be fishing up higher in the column, mid column to near the surface, so I'm anticipating them coming up and eating that bait from below. So that's free swinging single treble hook, does a really good job at hooking those fish for me. And I've got this thing spooled on some 35-pound Defiant heavy cover fluorocarbon again. Soft casting fluorocarbon would also be good in this specific manner because, like I said, I'm fishing it higher in the column, not anticipating that bait or that line to make nearly as much contact with any of the cover. This is a Douglas DXC 807F. This is one of the heavier rods in the range that I'm fishing these days. It's rated for 25 to 40 pound, 7 power, fast taper, 6 to 14 ounce lure range. So it's got a really big, heavier lure range. So, man, it fishes this 247 like a Senko. Once again, I've got a 6.3 to 1 gear ratio Concept A3. Gotta love that hook keeper system right there in the top of the spool. That is absolutely fantastic. And another use for this X Matrix 807F is your big baits, like this Gan Craft 303 super jointed claw Magnum. It's heavy. I don't even know what it is, 10 ounces, 12 ounces, but I mean, it makes a 230 look like a jerk bait. Like it's big, and I totally see us catching some fish on this. Hopefully we're gonna go to Lake St. Clair in the next week and do a muskie fishing episode with Blacktip H for their new freshwater channel that we're helping them launch. But I know I can get some muskies to eat this thing. I know I'm gonna get some big stripers to eat this thing once I'm around them again, and most importantly, big largemouth anywhere there's big prey present. But that 807, because of that big range, will effectively throw this bait, and it's not so fast that it's gonna rip that hook out of the fish's face if they're lightly hooked. I've got this rigged on 41 pound Defiant soft casting fluorocarbon. Why 41 pound? Well, dude, this is a $250 bait. I don't want to cast it off. I don't want to lose it. And I don't want to lose a giant fish that's going to eat this thing. So we've got the heavier line on the one of the heaviest rods in the Douglas lineup. One of the heavier baits and bigger baits in the range that I fish these days. And man, that just about does it. I mean, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 rod and reel setups that I'm utilizing through the end of 2022 and into 2023, on top of the Megabass stuff and Daiwa stuff that you guys saw in the previous Swimbait rod and reel tackle breakdown video. So no shortage of options these days. We're really fortunate to have so many high-end tools. Hopefully I can give you guys a little bit of insight to make a better decision to suit your lure style, your fishing style, If you guys got questions, leave them in the comments below. Do us a favor, share this video with your friends that could use some insight. Once again, you can support us and the channel directly by making those purchases for any of these items that we showed you through the links that we provide in any of our video descriptions. Go ahead and do us a favor and save those links as your bookmarked home pages on your phone if you order on your phone, on your desktop if you order from work, what have you. We are also going to be creating some members only content for you guys here on Big Bass Streams. So I saw my man Ben Milligan get roasted by his audience, and dude's just so salty that he was doing exclusive content. But it's gonna be like the stuff that you guys on my Patreon are already seeing. It's just gonna be additional content. I'm gonna be a lot more transparent with you guys. We're gonna do some like same day coming off the water breakdown videos of like what worked that day and why I felt like it worked throughout all of next season to finish this season. Specific tackle breakdowns not available publicly, and a whole lot of other perks that'll be listed here on the channel. So stay tuned, we'll make that announcement officially in the next week or two. But in the meantime, I hope you guys are having a happy Halloween, having a great end to your season if you guys are in the north, and enjoying your fall season if you guys are further south where we don't freeze and it's still t-shirt weather. And yeah, I'm Oliver Nye. Appreciate you guys tuning in, man. Subscribe to my personal channel and this channel if you guys are new here. Lots more coming. We've got another tackle breakdown video coming tomorrow. Tomorrow's video is on the Mega Bass Uotse swim jig. We've got tackle breakdown videos on the new 13 fishing Jabberjaw Deep, Cliff Banger 70, the Nishine, Chippewa, round bill crankbaits, the ones with and without the blades, all kinds of stuff coming. So we appreciate you guys. I want to thank you all very much. And congrats, mountain biker, on your VX21, man. Sick. You're gonna love it, man. It's an awesome boat. Until the next time, catch you guys later. Aim high, dream big. Oh man, that was a quick almost hour.